Learn all about living in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico, from expat John Scherber in this video interview with expats in Mexico. How many times had you been to Mexico before you actually moved to San Miguel?
I would think 7, 8.
But mainly to places like Puerto Vallarta. And...
We were waiting for the kids to finish school and go out on their own. And as soon as they did, we did too. We left town.
Isn't that liberating?
Yeah. Well, and you know, okay, Minnesota, you think of the climate. Climate was certainly a factor in our choice, but we like the culture, we like the people, we like the kind of old-fashioned family values kind of a place. It wasn't cutting edge, and we weren't looking for cutting edge. Cutting edge is easier to get. We just wanted to be, we like the kind of like in a colonial. I mean, where we are here in San Miguel, this was the cradle of the revolution. This is like the Lexington and Concord of Mexico.
What is the name of the place that you live?
We live on the edge of Atotonilco, which has, in 1810, Father Hidalgo, right up the road here in Dolores, gave the call for the revolution. And then Ignacio Allende, who was from San Miguel de Allende, he was an army officer. He brought his troops up here to the church in Atotonilco, and Father Hidalgo brought his indigenous people, the Native Americans, about 8,000 of them. They got together here in front of this church. I could practically throw a stone on it from here. I'm just outside of the town. And then they all went into San Miguel, and they got together with the Aldama brothers, and they proclaimed the birth of Mexico.
Have you lived in the same house since you moved in 2007?
We were in town for 10 years in the same place, and then it got a little busier than we liked, and my wife has a horse. She has a Lusitano mare that boards about 4 minutes from here. And this property came available, and we're in a gated community of 17 lots on about 60 acres, so each one is about 3 acres. And it's about half Mexican professionals and half expats. And I sit, as I'm looking over your shoulder now, I'm looking into the Rio Laja Valley. Is about maybe 4 feet out here is a 100-foot drop. I'm right on the bluff. And so I can look over the valley, which is very rural, and then I have the mountains about 30 kilometers away. And so we've really become country kids, and it's just very quiet out here and very calm.
So you were living in Centro before you moved?
Yeah. Yes, on the edge of Central. The traffic got more intense than we wanted, and it seemed to get a little heavier every year. And we just wanted more space. You know, in town, every house is elbow to elbow. Here, the nearest house is 125 feet away, you know, and we walk the dog, and I have 2 empty lots next to me. So I have about 10 or 12 acres here along the bluff that I can just wander around with the dog. I mean, the 2 empty lots, then the house next to us here, the woman who owned it just died in June. She was 104.
Oh my gosh.
And the house is just still sitting there.
Wow. Now, are all the houses custom homes?
Each one is very individual. This house that I'm sitting in is very Santa Fe style.
Oh, okay. And did you specifically look for that type of style?
No, it was just available, and it was a charming thing. It has huge glass overlooking the valley. Everything is oriented to the outside, and it's an eastern exposure. So dawn, I'm an early riser. Dawn is a different show every day.
That's great. How big is the house in terms of square feet?
With the main house is about 2,800 square feet, and then we have a casita with a big living room and bedroom and closet and so on. It has a laundry, and that's about another 1,400 square feet. So between the two of them, about 4,200 square feet. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I have my painting studio in the casita.
Yeah, marvelous. That's where you're at now, your painting studio.
No, I'm in the writing studio.
Are there many expats out in the area that you're living?
There are, in our compound here, in this little community, there are 2 actors, different households. And that's always, I like being with other creative people, and it's more interesting if they're not creative in the same fields that I am. And I like the actors.
Are
They're
they
fun
Mexican actors or U.S. actors?
Those are both gringos.
Ah, okay.
And the Mexicans here, one of them is an architect, 3 of them are attorneys, one is a notario, and then one of the expats is an attorney. So it's a diverse group.
How much would a home like that cost today?
3.5 years ago, almost coming up on 4 years ago, we paid $390,000 for this. But we're not in town, you know. But town is moving this way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of developments going up, and there's a lot of interesting property for sale. This house is about 15 years old.
How long does it take you to get into Centro from where you live?
20 minutes.
Oh, perfect.
So it's not a big deal, and you can have as much or as little of it as you want. We're at 6,400 feet. This is not the beach.
Okay.
We have a discernible winter, like we're just coming out of winter now, but today we're going to have a high of 84, and tomorrow and this morning we woke up to a low of about 44.
And
April and May are our hottest months,
yeah.
and typically November, December are our coldest. And then we get a kind of a rainy season, June through end of September.
So let's talk about your books. So you've got a detective series. What's the detective series called again?
It's called Murder in Mexico is the series, or it's called the Paul Zacher detective series. It's all on www.sanmiguelallendebooks.com.
And you've done 28 of those, and
yes.
Will that continue? Are you still interested in continuing the series?
I will. I'm so happy to have my writing career after 37 years of being locked out of it. I will write till I pitch forward into the keyboard. That is my plan. I love it. It's the most fun I have, and I love to paint. I have 2 more of the mysteries going now. So yeah, I will go on with that forever. You know, I've written 42 books in 15.5 years. Last year, in the calendar year 2020, I wrote 5 books and parts of 2 others.
Well, tell us about them.
Well, those are mysteries.
They're all the part of the series.
4 of them were mysteries.
Uh-huh.
One of them was a collection of short stories called Encounters. And I really surprised myself because I hadn't done any short fiction since college. Since 1966 was the last time I did any short fiction. And suddenly one came to me, and then another came to me, and so there are 9 stories in that book. It was really a lot of fun. And I'm working on another nonfiction book about the expat experience, which I had underway, and it was interview based, and I did the last interview in February, and then things started to get shut down, and I didn't want to go out and be sitting with a microphone between us 3 feet away from people, and they didn't want to talk to me either.
Sure.
So I have about 2/3 of that book done, and it's been sitting there for 11 months now. But I'll go back to that. It's about people expats who came down here and found that they didn't exactly retire. They got into things that they hadn't done in their working life in the States, but maybe had thought about doing. But you know how family and career thing you get. These are people who just went for it, just went off the wall and did something different. It's an interesting, and they tell their own stories.
How many interviews did you do for the book?
I have about 9 done, and it's going to need about 15 total. In this case, they're all in San Miguel. I did one book of the four previous expat books. The second one is called Into the Heart of Mexico, Expats Find Themselves Off the Beaten Path. And my wife and I toured all around the country, and we talked to people who were not seeking out towns where they had a big support community among the expats. They were, my theory as I wrote it was, isn't this a different kind of expat? Someone who doesn't want to leave a footprint on the community, someone who is not needing or wanting the support of a bunch of others. We talked to people in towns where there might be 5 expats. And it's a different experience. So that's the second one. So the first one is was conversations with about 24 people that I knew here. And then the third one was living in San Miguel, the heart of the matter. It was about issues. It was about banking. It was about real estate. It was about all those things you have to swim through if you're going to make a successful adaptation to being here.
So you've covered the waterfront with all of your expat books.
I try, yeah, I try. It's been a lot of fun, and I really, even in the nonfiction books, I'm not a collective thinker. I don't do any generalizations. My idea is to get people who will tell their stories, and in the hopes that the reader may try to put herself or himself in that person's shoes and say, well, is that something I could do? Does that make any sense for me? You know, but it's individuals talking about what their life is like here.
Do you find that the expats that you've interviewed are similar or very dissimilar?
I would have a hard time identifying more than a few similar characteristics. They tend to be pretty individual.
Mm-hmm.
They are probably courageous. They're willing to take a chance. That would be a common characteristic.
What attracted you to San Miguel?
I think I really liked the colonial sense that if you took the cars away and you were in Central, you could imagine fairly easily that it was 1800. I like that.
Tell me, what are the top 3 things that you love about living in San Miguel or the San Miguel area?
I like the weather. Certainly coming from Minnesota, I mean, I have experienced in the winter 40 degrees Fahrenheit below zero and 75 below zero wind chill. I also wanted to make a change and not live in the culture and ambience that I grew up in. I wanted to finish somewhere else. And this fits that. And I had considered for a while, because I had traveled in Europe a fair amount, I had considered whether it might be somewhere in Europe. But Europe is a lot more expensive than this place is. And the other thing, it relates to what you mentioned, I like the importance of culture here. I like the painters here, and there's an active writing community. And there's a lot of people doing interesting things. And again, that's something that you can participate in as much or as little as you want. And I used to participate in it more than I do now, but it's a real asset.
Do you find that in San Miguel that most of the people you meet, the expats that you meet, are more upscale?
Financially?
Yeah.
In a general way, yes, but there is also a contingent here that is focused on getting more bang for their buck, because they don't have as many bucks as they would like to have. And you can get by here pretty cheaply. Our house in town, our property taxes were about $220 a year. Out here, they're a little more. They're about $700 a year. The house we left in a western suburb, a first-tier suburb of Minneapolis, the house we left there in '07, at that time, the property taxes were $8,300 a year.
I really appreciate your carving out some time for us today, and you sound like you're just really enjoying life and loving what you love.
And Bob, I want to thank you for talking to me today.